For millennia, human survival moved at the quiet, seasonal pace of the harvest. Then, in a matter of decades, that rhythm was violently shattered. Beginning in the 1700s, as agricultural improvements resolved local famines, Britain's population spiked exponentially. But as numbers climbed, the government passed the Enclosure Acts, privatizing shared grazing fields peasants relied on for centuries. The acreage of available common land plummeted. Without space to graze animals or grow food, rural families lost their ability to survive independently. Millions were forced to abandon their ancestral fields and seek wages wherever they could. A multiplying population, combined with the sudden loss of common land, created a desperate, landless workforce. They were perfectly positioned to be absorbed by the coming machines. Before this demographic shift, cloth production was a slow cottage industry, worked entirely by hand inside individual homes. That system was erased by a rapid sequence of mechanical inventions. Devices like the flying shuttle, the spinning jenny, and the water frame automated the weaving process, multiplying a single worker's output far beyond human limits. These heavy new machines were too large to fit inside a traditional home. Production moved into imposing, multi-story brick mills, centralizing hundreds of workers under one roof. Initially, these mills had to be built along riverbanks to harness water power. But when engineers took the steam engine, originally designed to pump water out of coal mines, and adapted it to generate rotary motion, the restrictions vanished. Steam power untethered the factory from the river. Manufacturers built massive industrial complexes anywhere they wanted, turning open fields into sprawling grids of brick and iron. These relentless new facilities required a constant influx of raw materials and physical human energy to keep operating. Factory owners frequently relied on children to meet this demand. Because of their small size, they were forced to crawl barefoot underneath active, belt-driven equipment to retrieve dropped bobbins and tie broken threads. Below ground, young boys spent 12-hour shifts dragging heavy carts of coal through narrow, unventilated mine shafts. The brutal labor ruined their lungs and stunted their physical growth. The natural ecosystem absorbed the mechanical exhaust. Textile facilities discharged caustic bleaches, heavy dyes, and chemical solvents directly into the rivers, wiping out native salmon and shad populations. Above the cities, the combustion of millions of tons of coal pumped thick soot into the air. Entire urban communities were forced to live beneath a dense, choking layer of sulfur and smog. The immense economic expansion of the 19th century was directly subsidized by the physical deterioration of the working class and the poisoning of the environment. Eventually, the displaced artisans and starving agricultural workers pushed back against the machinery that was erasing their survival. In the northern manufacturing districts, groups known as Luddites organized targeted night raids. They broke into the mills with sledgehammers and systematically dismantled the automated steam looms. In the rural South, farm laborers initiated the swing riots. Desperate crowds marched on wealthy estates to destroy the new horse-powered threshing machines that had taken their harvest jobs. The British government met both movements with overwhelming military force. They deployed the army to guard the factories, hanging protest leaders and deporting thousands of others to penal colonies in Australia. By crushing the resistance, the state ensured that human muscle would permanently submit to the pace of the machine. With domestic labor firmly under control, the immense wealth generated by textiles and coal demanded a new avenue for expansion. The solution was the railway. During the railway mania of the 1840s, engineers rapidly scaled up locomotive designs. Trains evolved from small experimental models into massive iron engines capable of hauling thousands of tons across the country. This mechanization quickly became a tool of empire. In India, British colonial policies deliberately dismantled the centuries-old Bengal handloom tradition, starving local weavers to force a global reliance on Lancashire cotton. Industrialization established a rigid capitalist structure, where local technological supremacy relied entirely on the mass extraction of distant labor and resources. The machines of the 19th century effectively solved the ancient problem of agricultural scarcity, but they replaced it with the modern crises of industrial pollution and systemic labor exploitation. The brutal efficiency of the Victorian factory floor evolved directly into the automated logic of the modern assembly line. The global supply chains, the mechanized infrastructure, and the environmental realities we navigate today are still running on the momentum ignited by those first steam engines.